Welcome to Space Startup News Live. I do this live stream every week at the same time, and I recap my videos I've done this week. So typically that would be 2 dedicated videos and then a space news video at the end of the week. So I recap my videos, I bring up some comments left about the videos, I answer chat messages, I go over some other space news I've not covered, and then I usually preview upcoming content that I'm working on, think of doing next week. So that's the general format, and like I said, I do it every weekend. So yeah, so please watch every week if you're interested. You can either watch it live, or it's there to view afterwards. So let's get started with the first video of the week, which was iSpace. So I just put myself in the corner here. So iSpace is a Japanese startup. They build lunar landers. So their lander launched in January of this year, and it's been taking a low energy transfer. So it's been spending a lot of time in deep space and gradually circling further from Earth, extending the orbit until it goes around the moon, swings all the way around the moon, and then back towards Earth before it ends up in the moon's orbit. And yeah, it made a landing attempt earlier this week. So I did a video this week because I knew it was going to land on Thursday or Friday, so that was perfect timing. So if you're not familiar with the lander, this is what it looks like. This is mission 2. So they had a mission 1 that didn't succeed, and mission 2 was this week, and they've got missions 3 and 4 and so on. So this is what the lander looks like, and you can see actually in the video, you can see a little mini rover there. You can see where the wheels are. That's called Tenacious, and that's actually made by their iSpace European office. So it's the first kind of European rover on the moon. So yeah, and if we have a look here, there's a little start. I'll just get rid of myself. So you got mission 1, which was in December 2022. That crashed. The problem with that is that the altimeter, it's the instrument that tells it how far off the moon's surface it is, didn't work properly, and I thought it was on the surface when it was 5 kilometers above the surface. So it just hovered until it ran out of fuel, and then it crashed on the surface. So that was mission 1. Mission 2 is this week, called Resilience, and they have a mission 3 planned, which is with a bigger lander. They're working as part of NASA's commercial lunar payload services. Draper is the prime, the main contractor, and it's using the iSpace Apex 1.0 lunar lander, which I think I have a graphic of here. This is what it's going to look like. That's mission 3 and later on. So that's a bigger lander than the current one. And the plan is to land in the Sea of Cold, Mare Frigoris. So yeah, that's the landing spot there. That's in the North Pole. It's near the North Pole. And yes, we had a graphic on some of the payloads. There's a few payloads. There's the micro rover, which is just 5 kilos. It's a tiny little rover. And there's a few experiments they had from some Japanese companies. Water electrolyzer from Takasago, and a food production experiment from Uglana, and also from a university. They had a deep space radiation probe. So just a few payloads, because the lander is quite small. So I think it's only 30 kilos it can take. It can land at once. So you've got a micro rover and a few small experiments. So yeah, that's the lander. So if you don't know what happened, it didn't land softly on the moon. There was a problem again with the laser rangefinders. That's the instrument that tells it how far off the moon's surface it is. For some reason, there was a I'll bring myself up here actually. For some reason, there was a problem with the how long it took to get the signal back from the laser rangefinder. There were delays, so that resulted in the lunar lander not decelerating quickly enough. And I think the last recording was it was traveling 180 kilometers an hour, that's over 100 miles an hour. So it just crashed into the surface. So that's the second mission that hasn't succeeded. And again, it appears to be the laser rangefinder, the altimeter instrument, not working as expected, resulting in the lander just crashing. So hopefully, with their third mission, they can have more success. It's a completely different vehicle. It's a much larger vehicle, and I know they're working with Redwire, the US office. That was in Space News a few weeks ago. So it's iSpace US and Redwire partnering on future missions using their new, larger Apex lander. So yeah, I'll bring up the comments. What people are talking about the iSpace and the mission 3. Gaius Enceladus says, great stuff. Best wishes to iSpace as it tries to land its second lander on the 5th of June. I hope to be watching. Yeah, I posted a live stream. Yeah, put myself down here. And Wingsley said, oh, sorry, I've not finished the first comment. Great stuff. Best wishes to iSpace as it tries to land its second lander on the 5th of June. I hope to be watching. It's really good that they partnered with Komatsu. You couldn't wish for a better company to partner with for their lunar construction than a heavy equipment maker like Komatsu. They're exactly the sort of company that is needed to get some serious construction underway on the moon. iSpace has lots of partnerships. In the video, I'll go through some of them. They're really into lunar regolith processing and lunar infrastructure and lunar water ice processing. So they have a lot of partnerships. One is with Komatsu construction company, and there's various others with, I think, Scare E or Sky E robot. It's like a spider robot, and that can be used to check out lunar lava tubes and so on. And they also have the partnering with Chu University for these AI-powered called low-function robots. They just basically map an area, which could be again a lunar lava tube, and because they all communicate with each other, they can build up a map of the area. So they've got quite a few partnerships, and yeah. So unfortunately, their second mission failed, but they got mission 3, they got mission 4. So as long as they got the funding, they can keep attempting to land on the moon, and hopefully they'll figure out the problems. So anyway, Wingsley says, here's hoping that iSpace and its other mission partners succeed. We need to see more forward momentum on Earth's moon. We also need to see more nations developing launch systems and cislunar transport vehicles so that SpaceX is not the only provider. Yeah, more on cislunar transporter vehicles later on. But yeah, there's quite a few companies and countries working on landing on the moon. China and India have had quite a bit of success recently. So it seems that the countries and national space agencies have more success than the private commercial landers. In a previous video, I think I said that the success rate for landing on the moon is 45%. And that's not including this failed attempt. And it's been fairly generous about some of the landings. Like Intuitive Machines landings have not been perfect, but still consider them a success. So landing on the moon is very difficult to do, especially if you're a commercial company. China's been successful, and India has, but from the US side, it's only really Firefly Blue Ghost lunar lander that's landed. That landing was perfect, absolutely perfect. Everything went right. Intuitive Machines have had limited success with IM-1 and IM-2. IM-1 was more successful, I think, than IM-2, and some of the payloads worked. IM-2 really wasn't a success. And yeah, iSpace has failed twice now. and there's been crashes. Russia's crashed in 2023. Japan's had problems as well. Israel's had problems. So basically, it's just very difficult to land on the moon, especially if you've got limited funding and you're a commercial startup. And we have another comment down here from Quantum PK. The quiet achievers, go the Japanese, much respect for their prowess. And Gaius Enceladus says, agreed, Japan and India. I'm hoping that India can get some more landers onto the moon following their successful Chandrayaan-3 mission. Yep, India and China have been very successful with their lunar landers, and there's more of them to come. There's more from India. There's definitely more from China. China has big plans for the moon, some kind of base. So, yep, it didn't work, iSpace lunar lander, but there'll be mission 3, there'll be mission 4. They're already funded for mission 3. It's part of the NASA's commercial lunar payload system. So hopefully they figure out the problems and the next mission works. So that's the first video on iSpace. So then on to the second video this week. If I bring it up, there it is. So this is the Cislunar Transporter Blue Origin's fuel shuttle. So previously I did a video on a Blue Origin, and I was talking about the lunar landers. I don't know if I still got the graphic now, but basically they have 2 lunar landers. They have a Mark 1, they have a Mark 2, and for the Mark 2, which you can see here in the graphic on the right side, this lands a crew of up to 4 people on the moon, anywhere on the moon, equatorial, South Pole. It can land anywhere. It can land during the day, lunar day. It can land during the lunar night. So it's very, very flexible, and up to 4 crew. But it does require a Cislunar Transporter or fuel shuttle vehicle to land on the moon. And one of the reasons is that fully fueled is 45 tons, and the New Glenn launcher just cannot put it into moon's orbit, not at 45 tons. But empty, or its dry mass, is just 16 tons. So New Glenn can put it where it needs to be when it's empty. So basically it lifts it into NRHO, that's near rectilinear, NRHO, I'm not going to say it. It puts it into that weird orbit around the moon, and empty. No crew, no fuel. And then the Cislunar Transporter launches into low Earth orbit. It gets refueled maybe 4 to 8 times. And then it moves to NRHO. Then it fuels the Blue Moon Mark II lander. Again, no crew. Then SLS launches with Orion with a crew. They go to NRHO. They dock with the gateway. The Blue Moon lander docks with the gateway, and the crew are going to land on the moon, transfer from Orion via gateway to the lander, which then separates from the gateway and lands. It does the moon mission. Then it can take off because it has enough fuel to take off. Back to the gateway, the crew go back into Orion and go back to Earth. And both these vehicles are fully reusable. You can just refuel the Cislunar Transporter, you can refuel the lunar lander, and keep doing missions. So that's the reusable architecture that Blue Origin have come up with, and it's a great idea. Here's the, just get rid of myself here. So here is the landers from Blue Origin. The Apollo lunar lander is there just for like size comparison. So here's Blue Moon Mark 1. This is a robotic lander. It can land 3 tons on the moon's surface, which is huge compared to the existing commercial landers, which is just a few hundred kilos. This can land 3 tons, so it's massive. And then you've got Blue Moon Mark 2, which is, as you can see, it's twice the size. And this can land enormous amounts of mass onto the moon. And of course, it can land up to 4 crew. So yeah, those are lunar landers. Here is the full-size render of the Cislunar vehicle, Cislunar Transporter vehicle. So you can see the liquid oxygen and liquid hydrogen are stored in tanks. You've got a sunshade here that blocks the sun, and it can store cryogenic propellants for a long time. It has special zero boil-off technology. That means that the liquid hydrogen, which has to be kept very, very cold, just 20 degrees above absolute zero, and liquid oxygen at 90 degrees above absolute zero, they stay as liquids, they don't boil off, and they can stay there for months in orbit. So this is a game changer, because if you can store propellants in orbit for months, you can now move around the solar system a lot easier. You can move around cislunar space, you can change orbit, you can go to the moon, you can come back from the moon, you can go to asteroids, you can go to Mars, you can go to asteroid belt. So this is a key piece of technology, and it's not just about going to the moon, it's about going all around the solar system. So the critical piece of technology is ZBO, or Zero Boil-Off technology. And Blue Origin thinks they've got a working system. They're going to prototype the boil-off system, zero boil-off system, in June. And some of the comments corrected me when I don't know exactly what I said, but it's not the entire vehicle that's being prototyped. It's just the zero boil-off system. So it's been tested in a thermal vacuum chamber at NASA. And there's going to be a flight-like unit by the end of the year. So that's a critical piece of technology. Once they've got that cracked, then they can build this vehicle, and a large amount of propellant can be stored in low Earth orbit, low lunar orbit, just wherever it's needed. And it's a fuel shuttle. It can move. It can move from the Earth orbit to the moon orbit and back. It can go where it's needed. It can go to Mars. So yes. So here is the Blue Origin Mark II, which uses a cislunar transporter, and basically around the moon's orbit, NRHO, or maybe low lunar orbit, who knows, it will refuel this lander, and it can land on the moon, it can take off again, and it can keep being refueled many, many times. So I say in the video, it's not just about Artemis. It's about space startups that have a business model of mining lunar water ice, or ice from the asteroids, right? So they have a plan to harvest this, but then who are they going to sell it to? So it wasn't clear who they were going to sell it to in the past. Now it's clear. Blue Origin have said, and they said in the presentation, John Cooler has said, we're happy to work with everyone, and we're happy to buy the propellant. We will buy the propellant if it's on sale. So that validates the business plans of Argo Space and Kármán Plus and Ethos Space Resources, all who said they're going to process lunar water ice, and if you split it into liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen, that's exactly what Blue Origin wants. That's exactly what the cislunar transporter stores, and Blue Origin will buy it. They've said so. So that validates the business plans of various space startup companies. So that's fantastic news. And so that is the cislunar transporter, and it's not just about the moon, it's about Mars and beyond, because the cislunar transporter can transport 100 tons to moon and 30 tons to the Mars orbit. And I don't make it clear in the video when I say it's 100 tons of propellant to the moon. It's a trade-off. It could be 100 tons of propellant, it could be 100 tons of payload, it could be some trade-off between the two. So John Cooler says it could be just all mass and no propellant, or it could be all propellant and no mass, or some combination of both. So it's very versatile. Not only can it store the fuel, it can move the fuel. It's a fuel shuttle, and it really opens up the solar system. So here are some comments people have been saying about it. Mr. Sunshine 001 says, I believe the prototype being tested in June is just a zero boil-off system, not the whole system. Similar for a flight unit in December. So some of the comments clarified it. What I was saying is that it's not the whole vehicle that's being prototyped. It's just the zero boil-off system, which is a critical piece of technology that needs to be validated, and then the vehicle can be manufactured. And Hurricane 1668 says, it's becoming clear that Blue Origin is interested in building a lunar economy, while SpaceX is chasing Martians, building the gas stations, and they will come. Brilliant. So there's various different approaches to space. One is let's get to Mars and settle Mars and build up infrastructure on Mars, and the other is let's just go into space. Let's build space stations. Let's build orbiting space stations and so on, and do manufacturing in space. There's various approaches, and definitely Jeff Bezos, the CEO of Blue Origin, has made it clear he does want the orbiting space stations, the O'Neill colonies. He's mentioned that in some of his presentations. So he's more interested in space infrastructure, and Elon Musk has made it clear he's more interested in Mars. So different approaches, both are good. So that's Hurricane. And Wingsley, so this is a long comment, so I've just taken parts from the comment, and I just make it full screen. So Wingsley is saying, if the White House and Congress eliminate SLS, Orion, and the Gateway space station, there will be little NASA can do to perpetuate exploration and a sustainable return to Earth's moon to establish a long-term presence without Blue Origin's transporter flight architecture. There's no doubt that this will be the way forward. So, it's not really clear what's happening with Artemis and with SLS and Blue Origin and Gateway. So I'm going to cover that more next week, I think, when I go over the budget. But it's not clear whether those systems are going away or not. I think Artemis 2 and Artemis 3 are pretty secure, but after that, who knows? We want a commercial way of getting to the moon, and the fuel shuttle, the Cislunar transporter, is an excellent way of doing that. And they're working on the key technology, which is the zero boil-off system. They're making a lot of progress with that, so it's very, very promising, not just for the moon, but for Mars and beyond. So, that's great. And he goes on to say, the biggest questions on my mind, and again, probably few, if any, answers. The one missing element in the Blue Origin transporter is astronauts. Will there eventually be a move by Blue Origin and NASA to test and certify that this transporter is to be human-rated, and that some kind of capsule or module can be attached to convey astronauts between Earth orbit and other space destinations? So I believe John Couliras said in his presentation that in a couple of months there's going to be a presentation on the Cislunar transporter, and maybe including some hardware or something. So that'll be a very interesting presentation to watch, and hopefully in a couple of months we'll have it and we'll know a lot more about the Cislunar transporter, because at the moment all we have is one render and a few comments in the presentation, and that's it. So there's lots of questions and not many answers at the moment. And he also says, Wingsley says, Blue Origin's projections/promotions suggest that transporter will be able to move 100 tons to lunar orbit or 30 tons to Mars orbit. Presumably this includes fuel and cargo. It's a trade-off between propellant and mass. You can have all mass, no propellant, all propellant, no mass. I think it's a trade-off. The big question then becomes, how much tonnage can a combination of fuel and cargo can this spacecraft be realistically expected to convey between these places and still be able to return to Earth orbit? ? Could a transporter carry 50 tons of fuel and 50 tons of cargo between Earth and Earth's moon? Could it do 15/15 between Earth and Mars? And would 15 tons of fuel be enough for this spacecraft to successfully return? Yes, all good questions, and I have no answers. But hopefully John Couliras or someone else from Blue Origin will give us a presentation soon on the Cislunar transporter, how it works, and show us some hardware and give some specs so we have a much better understanding of how it works. There's lots of questions. I'd like to know the answers to those questions as well, but we'll just have to wait. Hopefully not too long, just a few months. But it's very, very interesting, the Cislunar transporter. And from the point of view of the space startups, it validates their business model. If an investor asks, well, who's going to buy all this water and hydrogen and oxygen? well, they can say, well, Blue Origin will buy it. They said categorically, we will work with everyone and we will buy the propellant if it's on sale. That's what Blue Origin have just said. And I say in the video that to land 1 ton of payload to the moon costs $1 billion currently. And even with a Starship, it's likely to cost hundreds of millions of dollars. So any space startup who's working on an industrial scale can easily beat that price easily. So I think these space startups can sell everything they can produce, because a cislunar transporter can probably carry 100 tons of propellant. That's a lot of propellant. So I think for the first mines, for space startups, they're not producing a lot of propellant. I think they'll be able to sell all of it. So anyway, that's very promising. And then on to space news for this week. Let's see. We got space news. So I just did that yesterday, and I covered, I don't really want to get into the politics, but there was some politics, and there was some kind of spat or row or dispute between Elon Musk and President Trump, and that resulted in President Trump saying maybe one way we can save a lot of money is not having any government contracts with SpaceX anymore. That will save billions of dollars, and it will save billions of dollars. But without SpaceX, it's very difficult for the US to do much in space, because the alternatives to SpaceX are, the Blue Origin with the New Glenn vehicle. New Glenn. It's launched once, but I don't think it's launching many times again this year. I think one other time it's going to launch this year. And it's busy with the Kuiper constellation. It's got to do the demos for the Mark 1 lunar lander. So it can't really launch many critical military payloads for the US. And it's not even qualified to do that, I don't think, at the moment. The alternative is United Launch Alliance, ULA, Vulcan Centaur. That's also launched once. That's it. It's launched once. I don't think it's certified yet for critical military payloads. It has to launch at least one more time. Plus the flight cadence is very low on these vehicles, and they have a big backlog. Vulcan Centaur has a lot of Kuiper satellites it has to launch. So it's very busy already. So I don't know, other than SpaceX, who's going to launch all these satellites. And then you've got Golden Dome, which is literally thousands of satellites, tracking satellites, communication satellites, and then you've got the kinetic effect satellites. Who's going to launch all of those? So I think it's just a spat. I don't think it's a big deal between President Trump and Elon Musk. But if it was a big deal, that would be a big problem. So that was the first news segment. Then I talk about InnoSpace, the South Korean space startup, and ExoLaunch, which so basically they're teaming up, and ExoLaunch basically provides satellite canisters. So for a rideshare mission, they have this deployment canister, and you put all the CubeSats and all the microsatellites into that, and they get deployed by ExoLaunch. And they've been around a long time. They've launched over 500 satellites. I think it's 36 missions, 40 countries. They've been on every single SpaceX transporter rideshare mission. So they're very experienced, and now they're going to be working with InnoSpace on their Hambit series of launch vehicles. So there's three. There's Hambit Nano, Hambit Micro, and there's another one, I think. And they're preparing for their first orbital launch attempt, which will be in the second half of 2025. I don't know if I've got any. I've got no graphics for that. But basically, they were going to launch, I think, in July from the Alcantara Space Center in Brazil. And it's been put back because of some issues. It's been put back to the second half of 2025. But it's launching later this year. And now they've teamed up with ExoLaunch. So companies that want to launch CubeSats or very small microsatellites can just contact ExoLaunch and get themselves on one of these rides from InnoSpace. So that's great news. then I talk about Redwire, which I think at some point I'm going to have to do a video just on Redwire, because they're involved in everything to do with space missions, solar panels, antennas, star trackers, cameras. They're also now, and of course, they're teaming up with iSpace US for the bigger lunar lander called Apex. So Redwire will be involved in that. And now they're working on Moon and Mars infrastructure. So they've got 3 tools, a grader tool, a compaction tool, and a melting tool that they can use to build roads, berms, landing pads, and just structures that you'd need for a settlement. Basically, they take the regolith, lunar regolith, or I guess the Martian soil, and they sinter it, which is just they use a microwave to heat up the soil, and it makes it into a hard material that doesn't produce dust. So you can build roads this way, berms, whatever, and landing pads. So they have passed a critical design review with NASA for these tools, and the next step is to actually manufacture the tools, make sure they work as expected, and they're looking at flight opportunities to test these in, I don't know, the microgravity or in space. But basically, you can use these on the Moon and on Mars. So that's interesting, and that's part of the, building the lunar structure, the settlement, the base on the Moon or Mars. So that's I covered that yesterday in Space News. So other space news, stuff that I haven't covered for one reason or another, is there's been quite a bit of fundraising going on. Impulse Space raised a massive $300 million in a Series C venture round. I think this could be the single largest amount of money raised for a commercial space startup. $300 million is just a huge amount of money. Impulse Space is going to be very big, I think. First of all, the CEO is Tom Mueller, who designed the Merlin engine for SpaceX. He's probably employee number 1 at SpaceX, so he's very well known. He's an expert with rockets, with engines, and he's the CEO of Impulse Space. It's now got a lot of money, and it's got quite a few contracts. I believe one with the US Space Force I covered last week. So it's probably going to be quite busy with Golden Dome as well. And Space Tug, that's what they do. They do the Helios Space Tug. I think they do Mira or Miros or something. They do a smaller one. This is the big Space Tug. It can very rapidly move a satellite from low Earth orbit to geostationary orbit. I think it takes 4 hours. So extremely quickly. Typically, if you're using electric propulsion, it can take you 6 months or 12 months. They can do it in 8 hours. So that's Impulse Space. And another bit of news is Voyager, which is the US partner on the Starlab commercial space station project. There's various different partners. There's Mitsubishi. There's, I think, is it Airbus? There's a European partner. There's Mitsubishi. There's the Canadian one. Is it MDA, who does the robot arm, and the US partner is Voyager, which is, I think they're the senior partner. The prime partner is Voyager. They're about to IPO, so potentially that brings in a lot of money, which is more funding, which hopefully will help them with their commercial space station. As you know, there's like Starlab. There's Orbital Reef. There's Axiom Space, there's Vast Space. So there's quite a few commercial space stations, and Starlab is one of them. They don't get a lot of media attention, but they're definitely working on that. So that's great news. So that is the other space news this week, and so in terms of what I intend to do next week, I think I know what I'm doing next week. I'll just bring myself up full screen here. I'm going to cover Firefly Eclipse, which, if you've not heard of that is a medium launch vehicle by Firefly. They're working with Northrop Grumman. They've had a partnership with them for a while. They're working on a larger vehicle, and I can't remember the top of my head what the payload is, but it's substantial. It's over 10 tons, and it will use new engines. And yeah, it's a medium launch vehicle. So if you're aware that the last Firefly launch, the Alpha launch, didn't succeed, and their success rate is not great. I think it's like 2 successes out of 6. So they had to decide on what are they going to do. Are they going to just continue persevering with their small vehicle, which really doesn't make them much money? Are they going to pivot to a larger medium launch vehicle, or are they going to just get out of the launch vehicle business entirely and do lunar landers, which the Blue Ghost was very successful. There's a lot less, there's less competition if you're doing lunar landers. Launch vehicles very competitive at the moment. So, and I think I mentioned in the video on Firefly, they're kind of in no man's land. You've got Electron, which are doing very small satellites and very successful. They're established, and it's very difficult to make money in the small launcher market unless you're named Rocket Lab. Then you've got the no man's land where Firefly is. It's about one metric ton, and it's not enough for a lot of companies. But it's there's not much demand basically for that kind of mass. And then you've got the medium launch vehicles like SpaceX. So I think that's where the money is. Relativity Space has pivoted to medium launch vehicles. SpaceX is there. Rocket Lab's doing the Neutron vehicle. And so I think the plan for Firefly is to pivot towards a medium launch vehicle, put a lot of money into it. I think it's $50 million. Anyway, so I'm doing a video on that, so I don't want to go on about that. But yeah, so that's my first video. And I think the second video will be the NASA budget for financial year 2026. They've released a PDF. There's a lot of information about what the US government is thinking about and like where the money should go. And it's quite interesting if you dig into the details. So my angle is obviously from space startups, how it affects them. So I think I'm going to cover the budget next week. So those are my 2 videos. Thanks for joining live stream. I do this every week at the same time. And yeah, please like and subscribe if you haven't already. Comment on the video. And yeah, I'll be back next week. Thank you for watching. Bye.